How to speak English confidently. Hello everyone, my name is Liba, and today I'm going to tell you a story, one that's very close to my heart. It's about my journey learning English and how it opened up the world for me. Just like you, I started from scratch. I was nervous, unsure, and sometimes I wanted to give up. But something inside me said, keep going. Let me take you back to when I first started learning English. I didn't know many words. My accent was different, and every time I tried to speak, I could feel the fear creeping in. I wondered, what if I mess up? What if people laugh at me? But here's the thing. You can't let fear stop you. In fact, mistakes are your greatest teachers. If we never make mistakes, how can we ever grow? You see, speaking English is like learning how to swim. Imagine standing at the edge of a pool, looking into the deep water. At first, it's terrifying. The water seems endless, and you feel small. But the moment you take that first step into the water, everything changes. That's how it felt for me when I started speaking English. Each word I spoke, no matter how small or simple, was like a step closer to swimming freely. Now, I know some of you might feel shy about speaking in English. Maybe you're afraid of making mistakes. Trust me, I've been there. But I'm here to tell you that those fears are normal. You're not alone. And more importantly, those fears don't have to control you. When I first started speaking, I would stumble over words. And yes, sometimes people corrected me. But instead of feeling embarrassed, I realized that every correction was a gift. It meant I was improving. One of the best ways to get better at speaking is by listening. I cannot stress this enough. Listen to English every single day. When you do, your ears become familiar with the sounds of the language, the way sentences flow, and how words are pronounced. It's like when you hear your favorite song over and over again. Soon, you start to sing along without even thinking about it. But here's something I want you to know. Don't just listen passively. Engage with the language. Speak aloud even when you're by yourself. I used to have full conversations with myself. Sounds funny, right? But it worked. I'd ask myself questions like, how was my day? And then answer them out loud in English. You can pretend to be a character from your favorite movie or imagine you're giving a speech. The point is, the more you talk, the more comfortable you become. And don't worry about having a huge vocabulary. You don't need to know every fancy word in the dictionary to communicate effectively. In fact, simple words can take you a long way. Just focus on getting your point across. In time, your vocabulary will naturally grow. Let me share a story with you. When I was learning English, I used to think that I had to speak perfectly before I could have a real conversation. But one day I realized that if I waited until I was perfect, I'd never speak at all. So I started talking. At first it was hard. My sentences were short. My words were sometimes wrong. But guess what? The people I spoke to didn't laugh. They didn't make fun of me. Instead, they helped me. They encouraged me, and that's something I want you to remember. People are usually kinder than we expect. Another thing that really helped me was reading out loud. I would take a simple book, one that wasn't too difficult, and I'd read it out loud to myself. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger you get. Your brain starts to connect the dots between seeing the words and saying them. Over time, your pronunciation improves and your confidence grows. And don't be afraid to ask for help. We all need help sometimes, whether we're learning a new language or trying to master a new skill. If you don't know how to say something, ask someone who does. Learning is about curiosity, and asking questions is one of the best ways to learn. Now, there's something very important I want to tell you. Believe in yourself. I know that sounds like something you've heard 1,000 times, but it's true. If you start telling yourself, I can't do this, then guess what? It will be hard. But if you tell yourself, I can learn this, then suddenly, the path forward looks brighter. Learning English is like climbing a mountain. You don't reach the top in one giant leap. You take small steps, one after the other. Each step brings you closer to the summit. When I first started, I used to picture myself at the top of that mountain. I'd imagine speaking English confidently, having conversations without worrying about every word. And now, looking back, I realized that the journey was worth it. Every mistake, every awkward conversation, every time I had to ask for help, it all led to where I am today. And the same will happen for you. One day, you'll look back and say, I did it. Let's talk about something that many learners face, feeling stuck. You've been practicing, you've been studying, but sometimes it feels like you're not improving. This is normal. It happens to everyone. It's part of the process. Learning a language isn't a straight line. Some days you'll feel like you're flying, and other days it might feel like you're standing still. But here's the truth. Even on those slow days, you're still moving forward. Set small goals for yourself. Don't aim for perfection overnight. Maybe one day you focus on learning 5 new words. The next day, practice pronunciation. Every small step you take is progress, and it's important to celebrate that. I remember the first time I could have a full conversation in English without stopping. My heart was racing, but afterward I felt proud. It wasn't perfect, but I did it. Another tool that helped me was keeping a journal. Every night before bed, I'd write about my day in English. It didn't have to be long, just a few sentences. But this simple practice helped me think in English. Over time, I noticed my sentences becoming smoother. You can do the same. Don't worry about being perfect. Just write. The more you practice, the better you get. And speaking of practice, let's talk about how to think in English. When you first start, it's natural to translate from your native language. But as you improve, try to skip that step. Instead of thinking in your language first, then translating, try to think directly in English. At first, it will feel strange, like learning to dance and having to think about every step. But with time, it becomes natural. Finding a friend to practice with can be a game changer. I used to meet with friends for coffee, and we'd challenge ourselves to speak only in English during our conversation. At first, it was awkward because none of us were fluent. But soon, it became fun. We laughed at our mistakes and learned from each other. You can do the same. Find someone who is learning English and practice together. It doesn't have to be formal. The key is to keep speaking. If you're nervous about speaking with native English speakers, I completely understand. I used to feel the same. But here's a little secret. Most native speakers don't expect you to be perfect. In fact, many of them admire people who are learning a new language. They know it's challenging, and they're often more than happy to help. So don't be afraid to speak to them. Each conversation, even the short ones, is an opportunity to grow. There will be moments when you want to give up, moments when the frustration feels too much. But I want you to remember something. You are stronger than you think. You've already taken the first step by wanting to learn. That takes courage. And that courage will carry you through the tough times. English is more than just a language. It's a bridge. A bridge that connects people from different cultures, backgrounds, and walks of life. It allows you to travel, meet new people, and explore the world in a way you never could before. Think about the opportunities that learning English will bring into your life. Imagine yourself in the future, speaking English confidently, making new friends, and achieving your dreams. Hold on to that vision. Let it be your guide. Remember to be kind to yourself along the way. Learning a new language is hard, and it's okay to make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are proof that you are trying. When you slip up, don't get discouraged. Say to yourself, I'm learning, and I'm getting better every day. One day you'll surprise yourself by understanding a conversation or saying something without even thinking too hard about it. These moments are your proof that you're moving forward. As I stand here today, speaking to you in English, I want you to know that I was once in your shoes. I was scared, I made mistakes, but I didn't give up. And if I can learn to speak English, so can you. The journey might be long, but every step is worth it. You are building a brighter future for yourself, one word at a time. I remember the day when I realized that learning English wasn't just about understanding words, it was about connecting with people. I was in a park when a tourist came up to me, asking for directions in English. For the first time, I didn't hesitate. I spoke with confidence. Even though my English wasn't perfect, the smile on their face when they understood me felt like magic. That moment in the park changed everything for me. It was like a spark that ignited a fire inside me, a fire that told me I could do this, that English was no longer something to be afraid of. You see, learning a language isn't just about mastering grammar rules or memorizing vocabulary lists. It's about building confidence. It's about believing in your ability to connect with people, to express yourself, and to navigate the world with a new tool in your hands. I want you to think of English as a key, not just any key, but one that opens doors you never knew existed. When you learn English, you're not just gaining a skill, you're gaining access to experiences, friendships, and opportunities that would otherwise be out of reach. Imagine walking into a room full of people from all over the world, and you're able to understand them, talk to them, and share your own story. That's the power of this language. But here's the thing, none of this happens overnight. Just like a key doesn't unlock a door by itself, you need to turn it, practice, and keep turning until the door opens. I remember thinking to myself, why is this taking so long? I've been studying for months, but I'm still making mistakes. What I didn't realize then, but do now, is that progress happens in the quiet moments. Every time you practice a new word, read a sentence out loud, or try to listen to a conversation, you're getting better. Even if you don't feel it. It's like planting a seed. At first, you don't see anything. The soil looks the same day after day. But beneath the surface, something is happening. The roots are growing, the seed is preparing to sprout. And one day, when you least expect it, a small green leaf breaks through the earth. That's your English journey. You may not see results right away, but every time you practice, you're watering that seed. And trust me, it will grow. Another thing that helped me was incorporating English into my everyday life. I didn't wait for a classroom or a teacher to tell me when to practice. Instead, I made English part of my routine. While walking down the street, I'd describe what I saw in English. If I was cooking or cleaning, I'd narrate what I was doing, almost as if I were on a cooking show. It may sound silly, but these small moments added up. Talking to myself became a habit, and the more I did it, the more natural it felt. I would even pretend to have conversations with people, sometimes acting out scenes from my favorite movies or TV shows. The more I spoke, even if it was just to myself, the more confident I became. And here's something that might surprise you. It's okay not to know everything. You don't need to have a perfect vocabulary to communicate. There were so many times when I didn't know the right word, but I found another way to express what I wanted to say. Sometimes simple words are enough. English, like any language, is about sharing your thoughts and emotions, not about using big, complicated words. What's important is that you get your message across, and if you can do that with a smile, even better. Let's talk about celebrating your victories. I know it's easy to get caught up in the feeling of, I'm not good enough yet, but every step forward deserves to be celebrated. I still remember the first time I ordered food in English at a restaurant. It was a small moment, but for me, it felt like I had just climbed a mountain. The waiter understood me, I didn't freeze up, and I left that restaurant feeling like I had conquered the world. These small victories matter. Did you learn a new word today? That's amazing. Did you have a conversation in English, even if it was short? That's progress. Every little step is getting you closer to your goal. And here's something important I want you to remember. Celebrate your mistakes too. Yes, you heard me right. When you make a mistake, don't get frustrated. Instead, remind yourself that mistakes are proof that you are trying. Each mistake is an opportunity to learn something new. I used to feel embarrassed when I made mistakes, but now I see them as stepping stones. Without them, I wouldn't have learned anything. So next time you stumble over a word or forget how to say something, just smile and think, I'm one step closer to improving. You're not alone in this journey. There are millions of people around the world learning English, just like you. They're feeling the same nerves, making the same mistakes, and celebrating the same victories. You are part of a global community of learners, and that's something to be proud of. Even native English speakers are constantly learning new things about their own language. So if you ever feel like you're not improving fast enough, take a deep breath and remind yourself that learning is a journey, not a race. Some days you'll make big leaps, and other days you'll take small steps. Both are important, and both bring you closer to your goal. Confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from believing in yourself and being willing to try. When you speak English, speak with confidence, even if you're unsure of your words. People can feel your energy. They'll notice your willingness to communicate, and that's what matters. Confidence is something you build over time, and the more you practice, the stronger it becomes. Don't be afraid to practice with native speakers. I know it can be intimidating, but most people are kind and patient. They don't expect you to be perfect. In fact, many native speakers admire people who are learning a new language because they know how challenging it can be. When I spoke to native speakers, I was nervous at first, but I quickly learned that they appreciated my effort. Some even helped me improve by gently correcting me, and those corrections helped me grow. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. Listen to English music, watch English movies, and read English books or articles. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more natural it will feel. At first, you might not understand everything, but don't worry. Over time, your brain will start to pick up on patterns and things will begin to make sense. Here's something important. Learning can be fun. Yes, it's challenging, but that doesn't mean it can't be enjoyable. Find ways to make learning English fun for you. You can play language games, sing along to English songs, or join online communities where people from all over the world practice English together. There are so many ways to make learning enjoyable. The key is to find what works best for you and stay consistent. And one more thing. Be kind to yourself. Learning a new language is one of the bravest things you can do. It's not easy, and it takes time, but every single day you spend learning is a step forward. You might not see progress right away, but trust me, it's happening. You are getting better every single day, even on the days when it feels like you're standing still. At the end of the day, remember why you're learning English. Maybe it's for your career, maybe it's to travel, or maybe it's to meet new people or challenge yourself. Whatever your reason, hold on to it. Let it motivate you when the journey feels long. When you're tired or frustrated, remind yourself of the doors that will open once you've mastered the language. As you continue on this journey, I want to leave you with one final thought. English is more than just words. It's a bridge to new experiences, new friendships, and new opportunities. When you speak English, you're not just learning a language. You're stepping into a bigger world, a world full of possibilities. So keep speaking, keep learning, and never give up on yourself. One day, you'll look back at this moment and realize how far you've come. And on that day, you'll smile and say, I did it.